In the fight that was considered the people's main event, Ben Askren had the chance to go to 20-0 and likely lock up a title shot had he gotten a win over Jorge Masvidal. The reason why I say lock up a title shot is because right now it sounds like Kamaru Usman will be ready for November. Colby Covington's going to fight Robbie Lawler in August. And the way I see that fight going is that even if Colby wins, he's probably going to be pretty banged up from it. And for him to turn around and fight Kamaru in November, it's probably not going to work for him. So it might be a situation similar to what happened when he won his interim title, where he won it in June and then wasn't able to take a fight in September against Darren Woodley. I think a similar situation happened here where he might win over, if he does beat Robbie Lawler, he wouldn't be ready to fight on Kamaru Usman's timeline. So whoever won this fight here between Askren and Masvidal is likely to jump Colby for a title shot. And again, even if Robbie Lawler wins, let's say Robbie Lawler wins in the exact same way that Masvidal won here, I just don't see Lawler having the same case as Masvidal would have, especially since Masvidal has a win over Askren and Lawler just, though it was controversial, just lost to Askren. So to me, this fight here was a number one contenders fight. And boy, did Jorge Masvidal make a case for him to be earning a title shot, especially with a win like that. That's going to be a very memorable win. It's a fight a lot of people were paying attention to. It's a fight a lot of people have now seen on social media because the clip was so short. So people now know a little bit more about Jorge Masvidal. I think on one hand, it kind of sucks for the UFC because Askren was really building himself up to be quite a bit of a star. Had he gotten this win here, it only would have helped him. And you figure if he gets that win there, then he wins a title fight, and all of a sudden he's looking at fights like Khabib or or not Ben Askren. He's obviously that's who he is, but GSP. That there could be some really big fights down the line for him. But with a loss like this, even if he goes back, wins a few more fights, and then avenges that loss to Jorge Masvidal, this is just going to be a tough one to stomach. So for the UFC, it looks like they kind of lose something in Askren in terms of a real possibility of some mega fights in the future. But what I like about Masvidal is that in a way, he kind of reminds me of Nate Diaz, and that Nate Diaz was a guy who a lot of fans, a lot of MMA fans at least, they liked him a lot, but he never really was a superstar. And then he fought against Conor McGregor, had that amazing win, and then all of a sudden he became a superstar of his own. I don't know that Jorge Masvidal is going to be a superstar himself, but from a personality standpoint, there's some similarities there. They both kind of have like that street approach. They both kind of have the appeal to the Latin American communities. I think Masvidal is Puerto Rican, whereas Diaz, I'm not sure specifically which one he is, but either way, I think Masvidal can definitely build a lot off of this. That highlight is perfect for any kind of fight promo you have. So for Masvidal, I think he just earned himself a title shot. For Askren, as far as what's next for him, it's interesting to me because before this fight, he was talking about how he'd retired from one, he'd retired from MMA when he retired from one, and he was saying the reason he went back to the UFC because he wanted to prove that he was the best guy in the world, and his goal is to get to a title fight, win the title, and then after he wins the title, have a couple big mega fights, and then call it a career at that point. So at this point, do you look at this and say, "Hey, I just got caught. I'm gonna get right back on the horse, or on my way to a title shot, and just get back to doing what I wanted to do. Just don't retire undefeated." Does he say, "Hey, this is enough. I'm already making plenty of money doing my other businesses"? He's the head coach at the regional training center for the Washington, or not Washington, for Wisconsin. So he can make a living without fighting in the UFC. He doesn't have to fight in the UFC. So I guess the first question is he going to continue? If he does continue, when is he going to be available to fight again? Because that was a really bad knockout. And then when he does fight again, who does he fight? For me, the fight I'd like to see him take the most, and again, this is really going to depend on timelines, and timelines are going to be affected by what kind of damage he took here in this fight. But I really like to see him fight against Damian Maia. Maia's the guy who's towards the bottom of the top 10, maybe even like in the 11 to 15 range right now. Um, Askren was number 5 heading into this fight. You'd figure he's going to drop a little bit after a loss like that. So they're going to be fairly close in the rankings. And that specific style matchup where you got the jiu-jitsu ace versus the great wrestler, I mean, granted, there's a chance that it just becomes a really bad striking match. But if it does end up going to the ground, that'd be great. I think a lot of people who are grappling enthusiasts would love to see that fight made. So for me, what I would hope, what I would hope is next for Ben Askren is a fight with Damian Maia. For Jorge Masvidal, though I would like to see Colby Covington fight for that title, I don't see it being very, very feasible. I don't see him just running through Robbie Lawler unscathed and being ready to fight when Kamaru Usman's ready to fight. So to me, it looks like Masvidal is next in line for a title at this point. So we'll see. We'll see what happens from here. It's a shame that Ben Askren had to lose this way. I know a lot of people are clowning him because he's a guy who talks a lot before his fights, but I never am going to hold that against a fighter. The fight business is an entertainment business. He does a great job of entertaining people. He does a great job of making people care about him, care about his results, whether you like him or hate him. If you hate him, you love what you're watching on the screen right now. If you like him, this kind of sucks for you. But I'd like to see him come back. I'd like to see him get healthy. And if he wants to resume his run and see if he can work his way back to the top and maybe even get another shot at Masvidal, that'll be great. As I mentioned before in the Rockhold video, Rockhold never really seemed to learn his lesson after getting knocked out, where he just keeps that right hand low. For Askren, it'll be interesting to see if he does fight again, if he just lunges forward again, or if he decides to play a little bit different just to avoid a situation like this happening again.